It is time to finally build that God Squad. Stay frosty and head to buymaddencoins.com for the cheapest, fastest, and most reliable MUT coins on the market. I'll even help you shave off a few bucks. Use code DIRECTOR at checkout for 20% off. Yo, what up, brothers? What's up? It's the Director. We got another update for Madden Ultimate. I shouldn't say Madden Ultimate, it's Madden 21. This time regarding Face of the Franchise, Rise to Fame, kind of Madden 21's story mode. There's been trying to progressively add this into the game since a long shot a couple of years back, but last year's wasn't great in my opinion. It felt like it was really short and it kind of just dumped you off into the classic franchise mode after a couple hours. This one seems a little bit more interesting to me. We're going to go over some of the finer details in this video and kind of give you guys my thoughts on what to expect. Before we do, Chargers fans, expect another video coming out today for you guys. I know I've been super busy. Madden 21's coming out. Keeps Director very, very busy, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys have some content as well. Before we get started with this video, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps out a lot. Let's get into this video. So the first thing I wanted to go over with Face of the Franchise actually has nothing to do with Face of the Franchise. It has to do with another game titles, another game series story mode, and that would be the basketball community's NBA 2K20's My Career. Now, this is something that I see floating around on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. I often do run into cinematics from the 2K game, and honestly, I'm not a basketball fan. I really wish I was. It would give me something more to watch, the off season of the NFL. But I do pay attention to what 2K is accomplishing with their game. This is absolutely insane to me. Take a look at the graphics here, guys. It feels like AAA video game title. They brought in Idris Elba and Rosario Dawson. They got some star power in here with their game mode, with their My Career mode being their story mode. And to me, it kind of blows me away. The elements that make what this to me feels interesting is pretty impressive. One thing I'd say a lot about Madden, which I want to see happen, that I'm seeing happen here with the 2K My Career, is I want to see more of a human element to NFL football. I want to see more of a human element to Madden. Right now, things feel a little bit robotic. It feels very scripted. What I'm seeing in the trailers for NBA 2K feels more human. It feels more engaging. It feels more relatable. And the effort you're seeing in this, it's very cinematic. It feels like a movie. It feels like they did a really good job. Honestly, like, I would like to watch just a movie version of that. And look, you got that guy from Shark Tank on there too, Mark Cuban. Very, very cool to see, all of the different elements they brought into this to make it feel immersive. It feels like a movie. And that's something that I would really like to see in Madden. I feel like, that element, that human element is kind of missing from our story mode. Being Face of the Franchise. And the biggest reason because of it, I do think it's because it's maybe a little bit rushed. I feel like there's not enough resources to put into their franchise mode, and I'm really hoping to see something like that in the future here. So let's take a look at some of the Gridiron Notes here that were put out today. I'm not going to read out all of this to you guys. There's so much to go over. It's funny, you see, we'll start here at the top, Face of the Franchise, you go all the way down here, and finally at the bottom you see this tiny section here for franchise. If you guys want to see what my thoughts were on the franchise updates, I did put out a video earlier today. So taking a look at the Face of the Franchise mode, our story mode, this is something that I feel is very important. I think the story of an NFL player, where they come from, their origin, their background, their foundation, is very interesting to me, as well as a lot of NFL fans. I feel like if they can really nail their story mode here in the next couple of years, and this is something I've said since, the days of Long Shot, it could be, one of the premier modes in Madden 21 every year, but it just feels like it's been falling short. It feels like not enough resources has been there. From the graphics to the script to the actual cinematics, it's all felt a little bit behind the times, a little bit from just the point of view of presentation. And although I will say this, Long Shot, and this is going to be weird to even say, I didn't hate Long Shot. I thought Long Shot at least gave us a full story. It gave us a full narrative. It gave us a perspective of a player trying to make it in the NFL. And I liked it. The story mode of it was intriguing to me, even though it fell short in a lot of other places. So Face of the Franchise, Rise to Fame. So basically you're taking a story from the perspective of an NFL player all the way back to high school. So here it'll say, you know, high school is where most of the journey starts towards adulthood, but for you, it's also to embark on your journey of football starting. That's awesome. We take a look here. It says we're going to be taking the perspective of a player named QB, or quarterback Tommy Matthews, starting as a backup, living in his own school. And it feels like it states that you get to choose, you know, what the name of your school is going to be. It's going to give you a whole bunch of different logos that honestly we've seen for so many years in Madden. I'm hoping those get updated very soon. I mean, honestly, if it were me, I would try to at least get the logos freshened up before the launch of Madden, but I doubt that's going to happen. So interesting to see, you know, that here's your quarterback again. What's his name? Quarterback Tommy Matthews. Tommy Matthews is the main character of this player, so it feels like we're going back to the days of long shot a little bit, meshing it with Face of the Franchise we got last year, because last year you got to, you know, choose your own quarterback, choose his name, the way he looked, his voice. It was an interesting idea, but it looks like they're taking a step back from that and going back to, you know, where you're playing as a character, you know, coming up from maybe some other things you can customize, like your school, the background, and stuff like that. Looking at player interviews and stuff right here, very interesting. So you start off in high school. You're going to work your way into the starting quarterback position, looking for scholarships and stuff like that. After that, looks like you're going to be able to go to college, taking the center stage. Again, National Signing Day is going to be in the game too. There's a choice of, I think, like 10 schools that you can go to, which is interesting. And then you're going to try and win a college football playoff championship or two along the way. And this is to get the attention of the NFL and get a invite to the combine. Now, going into the combine and the draft, this is where things get kind of interesting to me. You do have some control of what you do at the combine, which is very interesting. It says down here, life-changing experience. It continues when you encounter a chance at meeting legendary NFL commentator Rich Eisen, as he helps you prepare for the most crucial event of the combine, the event that can make or break you, the illustrious 40-yard dash. I'm really hoping that we get to do, you know, the other things at the combine, you know, your vert, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that make up the combine, but it is interesting to see that you can at least run your 40-yard dash. I feel like in Madden specifically, a lot of the attributes come from the combine. I think maybe even too many of the attributes are influenced by the numbers you perform at the combine, at least at the beginning. And the 40-yard dash to me is probably the most important, determining how fast your player is Madden Ultimate Team, or Madden, you know, in general. I feel like speed for the longest time has been the biggest factor in whether or not a player is good or not, and so to have some kind of control over that is interesting. So I actually haven't looked at any of these graphics here. Let's take a look at some of these. Okay, you got your 40-yard dash in there. You're at the NFL draft, holding up the jersey of the team that drafts you. You're on the show with Rich Eisen, which is kind of interesting. That's something I want to see more of. You know, put in these faces and these personalities that we know from in real life football presentations, shows, you know, coverage and stuff like that, and NFL honors, working your way up into the Hall of Fame. Very interesting. So the NFL storylines here. Now this is where things may differ from what we've seen in the past. Again, kind of meshing the concepts of Face of the Franchise and Long Shot. It looks like they've segregated your journey through the NFL, you know, high school and college, into these different subsections. You know, starting back here, let's go to Franchise Savior. You've entered the NFL as one of these the most highly touted prospects in your draft class. That means you enter the organization, putting their Super Bowl hopes and dreams on your shoulders. All-time greats were able to deliver in those championship hopes. Now it's time to see if you can if you're cut from the same cloth as those legends. So Franchise Savior seems to be one of those storylines. So your career will have numerous twists and turns as you navigate many obstacles. So what I'm hoping here is that we're not going to see the same scenario engine-led narrative like we saw in Madden 20. In Madden 20, we saw, you know, Face of the Franchise. You got to play a little bit of that story mode at the beginning, where it determines, you know, you get to play a little bit of college, you get drafted, there's a little bit of story there, and it drops you off into regular franchise. And the rest of the story is kind of led by the texts you see in those scenario engines. That, to me, watered down the experience right after you got drafted. It felt like there wasn't much point in playing that mode after you got drafted, after you saw the story elements, which really only took maybe an hour or two. I don't even remember. I only played it a couple of times because I was hoping to see more immersion through your actual NFL journey, not just through getting drafted. But here it seems like, you know, Franchise Savior, next man up after being selected in the NFL draft by a team which is a solidified starter at your position. It's clear that even if your time isn't now, it will come soon enough. So there's different scenarios in which you enter the NFL. You know, again, franchise savior, next man up, understudy, you know, bitter rivals. I guess this is going against other teams, other players, other franchises that you're trying to, you know, go up against. Dream team, teams with great talents are forced into great expectations like we've seen in the past. I think the 49ers being a pretty good example this last year. The comeback, struggle of coming back from serious injury is too much for many players to overcome, so you might have to go through that as well. Turf war, after a subpar performance last season, you're suddenly facing competition for your starting position. Into the sunset after a long, storied NFL career. It's just about time to hang up those cleats. Hopefully making into the Hall of Fame is what I'm kind of, you know, guessing there at the end. And so what this looks like to me is maybe you start off, you know, in this section here in high school. So your quarterback, you know, was it Tommy Matthews? You're going through some scenarios there where maybe we see some cinematics. And the same thing can be said going up into college, you know, getting to meet Rich Eisen and all that kind of stuff. It feels like all these phases will be represented by some kind of RPG cinematic experience, which is kind of what I do want to see. But what my fear is all the stuff in between. You know, maybe they drop you off into franchise after you're drafted and you play for a while, and then you enter into, you know, a different, you know, scenario they have here, you know, franchise savior. Maybe they have, you know, a collection of cinematics that you're going to go through, collection of different choices that you're going to have to go through with the franchise savior. Next man up, you know, a different collection of cinematics. Understudy, next collection is cinematics. But in between all of this, you're just playing, you know, regular franchise mode. And I'm hoping that's not the case. I want more control over my story. I want more control over my conclusion. I want more control over my success. And it's something that I get is very hard to accomplish, but if they're going to be meshing the concepts of face of the franchise, you know, and long shot, and give us a full narrative experience, I'm hoping that's the area that they're going down. So let's take a look at some more of these stills here. You got maybe some of your buddies in the NFL, you know, influencers, coaches, Snoop Dogg for some reason, and Rich Eisen. So this could be a step in the right direction. This is something I said last year with, you know, face of the franchise, which to me was a little bit vanilla. It felt a little bit incomplete. It felt more like a game demo, in my opinion. But if this one can give us, you know, anything close to what 2K gives their community, and I haven't played 2K, so I can't tell you for certain if this was a complete experience, but from what it looks like, it's very fleshed out. The story is there, the narrative is there, the experience, the immersion is there. Very impressed from what I saw with the 2K trailers, at least. If we can get anything close to that, you know, with the Gridiron Notes here. We've seen stuff like this in the past tried, you know, but again, this was very limited experiences. This was very limited, you know, narrative to me. And even the graphics here, you know, you want to see something more modern, more, just a lot of, I want to see more effort put into stuff like this. That's just kind of where I'm getting at. So as a guy who loves, you know, RPGs, from a guy who loves story, from a guy who loves immersion, I'm really rooting for this. I'm really rooting for face of the franchise to turn into, you know, a highly coveted story mode for the Madden franchise, because it's something I felt has been lacking for a long time. I'm hoping that the resources that are put into it, you know, aren't put into it, you know, in vain. I want, you know, this mode to succeed if there's so many resources being taken away from stuff like franchise, regular franchise, maybe even MUT, maybe Regs, maybe Superstar KO, whatever it is that they're working on. I want this to be worth it. I'm rooting for it. I hope that it works out. I hope they bring more attention to it. I would say more star power than Snoop Dogg. Everybody knows Snoop Dogg would, you know, jump into an NFL opportunity first chance that he gets. And I don't know. Very interesting to see. Well, guys, in the comment section below, what do you guys think about face of the franchise? Kind of my first impressions of it. I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that they don't drop us off into regular franchise mode like they did in Madden 20. But I'm interested. It's got my attention. I hope that they do a good job with it. I'm sad that, you know, the franchise mode, the regular franchise mode of everything maybe had to suffer because of the resources put into it. But again, I'm hoping it was worth it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Like and sub if you do like this content. We'll see you next time, and as always, stay frosty.